So we are right now going to talk to you guys about the Skip the Scam series here on our show about how to interview a contractor. And one of the things that we know is that the number one most complained about industry on the BBB is construction. In some of those construction industries, as many as 70% of the total complaints to the BBB go unresolved. What does that mean? That means that you potentially have a 70% chance of not resolving your issue with your contractor should one arise. That's terrible. What are people doing? They're going to Nextdoor. Nearly 1 in 3 homes have a Nextdoor account. And what do people use Nextdoor for? Yeah, they're trying to figure out why the cops are down the street and what's going on and what's happening, but also they're asking for references. Hey guys, I need to get my roof done. I need to get my house painted. I need to, right? Do you guys have any recommendations? And it's a phenomenal tool. But the problem with it is that doesn't give you the level of certainty that you need, because the truth is you don't know how to interview a contractor, right? You don't feel confident in your ability to meet with the contractor and be able to discern the truth. So that's what we're going to do for you here. What we've done here is we've created a contractor interview checklist along with a basically questions, interview process, and with an answer key. You're going to know the right answers. You're going to know, okay, I'll give you the first example. Can you help me out with my deductible? Best answer, no. It's illegal. It's insurance fraud. Knockout question. Any other answer than no? If they say yes or offer to work with you, they're committing insurance fraud. And if a contractor is willing to commit insurance fraud, what else are they willing to do? And by the way, in the state of Colorado, you're committing insurance fraud by participating in the contractor eating your deductible. And so, these are the types of things that we're going to be able to figure out. If this person's telling the truth, we're going to give you all the answers. It's a 4-part video series. This is video number 1, basically just talking about how do we even know if a contractor is worth the time to sit down and get to the meat and potatoes here, right? And so we've identified 6 immediate knockouts, 6 things that we know for sure are going to knock this contractor completely out of contention so that you don't have to waste your time sitting down here figuring it out. So let's just get into it. Number 1, obviously, they need to be licensed. In the state of Colorado, does not have a state license. So what that means is that a contractor needs to be licensed for the trade that they are going to be performing for you if a license is required in the individual city or county in which you live. Okay? Probably in Colorado, that's probably close to 2,000 or 3,000 different licenses. Just because if you go and you look up the contractor and you see that they're not licensed there today, that's not a knockout, right? They have to have the credentials to be able to get that license. As an example, we don't carry a license all the time in Grand Junction. The phone isn't ringing over here in Denver for Grand Junction, but do we go over there and do multifamily projects occasionally? Of course, right? Of course we do. So what does that mean? We have the credentials to be able to go to Grand Junction before we start a project and get the license, right? So that's really important. Some of these out-of-state guys are going to come in and they're going to go, oh yeah, I'll eat your deductible, no problem. And they're going to fly under the radar. How? The city doesn't know if a permit isn't pulled. They're not driving around looking for roofs and then checking the permit, right? So that's something that you need to be aware of. Number 2, they need to have the appropriate insurance. A general liability insurance policy with a $1 million per occurrence and a $2 million aggregate is the right insurance policy. And by the way, don't feel bad about asking the contractor if not only to add you as an additional insured, which I think you should do, right? And number 2, get the certificate and call. Make sure that the policy's active. Now, I actually recently just heard about a company who, not through any fault of their own, but their insurance agent actually got a refund or something from the policy. There was like an issue. They sent the money back. The agent never told them, kept the money. They went like 6 months without having an active general liability insurance policy. Now, that would have been solved if there was a problem. It would have ended up going to the insurance of the agent. But those are the kind of things that happen, right? And that contractor had none the wiser, right? It wasn't even their fault. So call the policy, make sure the policy's active, and make sure, you understand what the coverages are if that's really important to you. Number 3, they use project managers. This is so important. The next video is literally only about this. The difference between a salesperson and a project manager. You do not want to be working with a salesperson. What they're going to do is they're going to sell you, right? They're going to give you the warm and fuzzies. They're going to tell you all the things that you want to hear. Then they're gonna go on to the next. You're gonna now maybe be passed off to somebody you don't have any relationship with, and then they have this ability to go, oh, well, you didn't tell me that, and I didn't know, and you already have a it's not in the right? We're not doing that. You want to work with the same person from the very beginning of the process all the way through to the very end of the process, so that you have one person that is accountable throughout the entire project. And not only that, but like a gold star on the project manager is if they're going to create your material order for you instead of maybe their production team or something. Because what you can do is you can use our checklist here to make sure that you're having the conversation with the project manager. Remember, that person that you're working through all the way through, that when that material order goes through, that you've had a conversation about the quality of the materials that are getting put into the job. It's really important. That's going to be part of our red flag series here in the 3rd video. Let's see here. We're on number 4, a physical local address. This is so important. One, it makes sure that you're not going to work with somebody who's out of state. And by the way, those out of state guys will come in and get a temporary office and then they'll leave, right? We're going to talk about that in a later video as well. But you want to make sure, if you're working with somebody who is local, that they're not working out of their home. And I'm not trying to bash the little guy, how committed are you to your craft if you don't have an office? You might be a great contractor, man, but it doesn't feel like you're fully committed. And to me, that's just a knockout. I need somebody who's actually going to, oh yeah, we're going to give you a 10-year warranty. Really? You don't even have an office. I don't know. To me, I've heard a ton of homeowners over the last 14, 15 years that have said, oh yeah, I worked with this guy and he worked out of his house. Great guy. I don't know. I had a small little leak and he just wouldn't answer the phone. Really? Because he doesn't have an office. You can just show up and go, hey man, what's going on? Right? So we're not going to do that either. And let's see here. We're on number 5. Ask the person sitting across from you how much experience they personally have. We're going to give you all of the tools you need to properly vet that project manager. A lot of salespeople will have the title project manager on their card. And maybe you can tell that this is important because I'm doubling down on it again. It's really, really important because we're gonna give you the tools to vet to make sure that this person who claims to be a project manager is in fact a project manager, and not only in title, but that they have the ability, the capability, the experience to actually manage a project as complicated and important as a roof or roofing gutters or roof gutters paint windows, and that process inside of an insurance claim. It's important, and it cannot be, a hobby for this person. They need to have dedicated themselves to being an absolute expert and professional. Again, we've given you all the tools in this packet to be able to vet that and make sure that that's true. Number 6, and this is the last one. And again, this is really, really, really important. Private equity is buying up roofing companies like you would not believe. And I can't tell you what to do. My recommendation, do not work with a company that is owned by private equity. Here's why. I'm gonna take you down a little trip down memory lane. Do you remember in 2020 when you were trying to buy a home? And I was doing that. And we were giving asking price, and we were getting beat out by cash offers, 20% over list. That was Wall Street. That's private equity. So they're buying up all the single family homes. They jacked the home price in America through the roof to where it's unaffordable for most people to be able to purchase a home, especially young people to be able to purchase a home. That's not good for America. It's good for investors. It's good for Wall Street. Wall Street does not do what's good for you. They do what's good for them and their shareholders. So what does that mean? Now they're backed by the insurance carriers. They own the homes, and now they're going to own the the construction companies that repair the home. Wait, insurance insures the homes. They own a lot of the homes, and they own the. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? We're going to put small businesses out of business. The local community, we're going to take the money. You're going to take that money. You're going to give it to a private equity firm. They're going to ship that money back to New York or wherever they're from, LA. And that money leaves the local economy. The contractor that comes to your place of business and gives you money and supports the economy, that guy doesn't exist anymore. And by the way, a lot of these private equity firms, they bought up these roofing companies that had a ton of debt. They had big fancy offices and 20, 30 trucks in the yard. And guess what? No hailstorms, no revenue, 30 trucks, big expensive office, tons of overhead. They went belly up. There are private equity firms that went out of business. They left the homeowners high and dry, the business owners that sold to them high and dry. What happens to those homeowners when they have a problem? They're going to pick up the phone, and what are they going to get? Dial tone. Nobody available. That's not what we want. We want good quality local businesses that are going to be here for the long haul, that do things the right way, that work as you're going to work with a project manager that's going to be accountable from beginning to end, and you're going to have all of the resources right here to be able to determine if this contractor is going to be the right contractor for you. So with that, I'm going to end the video. We're going to move on to the next one, which is all about getting into the nitty-gritty details of being able to vet a project manager or a project manager to make sure that they're the real deal. I'll see you on the next video.